Plett.
Thank you, Speaker. My question is for the government leader in the Senate. Senator Gold, safe and effective COVID-19 vaccines offer hope for the future for all Canadians. However, yesterday's fall economic statement failed to provide any details on how and when vaccines will be rolled out across our country. This is despite the fact that the economic statement acknowledges that Canada's economy cannot reopen until a vaccine is widely available. The only thing we learned yesterday about the vaccine rollout is that the government plans to spend $125 million to ship and store the vaccines, and this work, quite frankly, should have been completed months ago, Senator. Leader, the United Kingdom has said its vaccine rollout will begin within days. The United States has given its states until Friday to order doses of the Pfizer vaccine. Why can the Trudeau government not give us details of Canada's vaccine rollout?
Well, thank you for your question, and I think everyone in this chamber would agree with you that the distribution of vaccines and its rollout is an important step for us to combat the pandemic and to help us return to a more robust and normal economic life. The government has been working on preparations for the obtaining the necessary vaccines and their distribution for many months now. It's been working with the territories and the provinces who have the primary responsibility to make the decisions within their provinces and territories for how those vaccines will be distributed. We are now, the government is now in the final stages of finalizing the third-party logistical support that it needs so that vaccine distribution can begin early next year. And as we know, most recently, the government has tasked Major General Danny Fortin to oversee the logistical operation. The government remains committed to providing information as it is rolled out, and more importantly, to roll out vaccines for the benefit of Canadians, in a timely fashion.
Senator Plett.
Well, the most true and significant part of that answer was that everybody in this chamber understands the importance. It's unfortunate that the Prime Minister, who spends most of his time in his cottage, does not have the same feelings that you and I do. No specifics on the vaccination rollout, no widely available rapid tests, no details on the upcoming fiscal stimulus, and no long-term fiscal anchor. Only a hazy reference to, listen to this, they found a new word, fiscal guardrails. When the fall economic statement did clearly show, however, that we are in debt to the tune of $1.1 trillion and a debt-to-GDP ratio of well over 50% for years to come, no matter which of the four proposed stimulus scenarios the government ultimately chooses. Leader, how are the so-called fiscal guardrails going to rein in your government when you can't even tell us what they are? Do you commit to lay out these guardrails in, and my notes say next year's federal budget, but we have no guarantee that this government is ever going to bring down a budget. So let me say, whenever the government decides to present a budget.
Senator Gold.
Thank you for your question, but the question betrays a certain assumption that this government does not share. This is not the time to be reining in the investment that this government is making in the well-being of Canadians, in their health and their safety, in maintaining their economic well-being. Its priority remains and must remain focused on the well-being of Canadians and businesses. History teaches us there is wisdom in continuing to provide this kind of support to Canadians. The fiscal update that was provided yesterday was clear with regard to the government's intentions and this government's commitment, not only to continue to invest in Canadians, but also to keep a very close eye on its spending, to make sure that we continue to be able to spend in a responsible way. And in this regard, colleagues, it is important to remind ourselves not simply that we have the continuing fiscal capacity to do so, but that even after all the spending that this chamber and the other place approved to help Canadians, notwithstanding the hundreds of billions of dollars that we've spent in order to combat the health and economic crisis with which we are confronted, Canada remains in a strong economic position. Our debt to GDP ratio, which has climbed inevitably by virtue of the increased expenditures and the loss of revenues as a result of the economic crisis that we're in, still remains the strongest among, and projected to remain the strongest in the G7. And our credit ratings from Moody's has been reaffirmed recently in AAA terms.